everybody, and welcome back to the next 90%. I'm Caitlin.
I'm Aaron.
I'm Dobbins.
And I'm Matt. And today we are welcoming 2020 champ Scotty Bootz. Hey,
Hi.
Scotty.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys for having me. Appreciate it.
So, Scotty, tell us a little bit about your story for those that don't know, and we'll follow up with some questions and go from there.
Yeah, sure thing. So, I'll cliff note the beginning part again. So everything kicked in for me March 8th of 2020, being at the park with my daughter and the missus, and just everything kind of clicked in that moment, just realizing I was making excuses to not want to be as active as I really would want to be running around the park. And I've been in those situations multiple times, but whatever it was about that specific day, just something had clicked. And we were leaving, got back into the car, and I told the missus, I just said, "Hey, this is what I want to do. I want to go to a Chinese buffet right now. I want to eat till I'm sick, and then when I wake up tomorrow morning, like that's it. Everything's gonna change." And this was the first time that I, had kind of promised myself that and my family, and it felt different. It didn't feel like, well, I'm going to give this a try. It felt like this is what it's going to be, and that is what it's become. So March 9th was my official date, and started off at 271 pounds. Um, Busted my ass just making lifestyle changes, went cold turkey across the board, stuck to a very, very strict low carb, low fat, high protein, cut out all sugars, and just went hardcore. No cheat days, no nothing. I stuck to the hardcore route with that all the way up and through. I got to my lowest weight at 169 pounds. And in the middle there is when I had first joined the DDP community. I was always following the DDP page and stuff, but I was never actually a part, of the actual group page with everything interacting. And once I broke 200 pounds, that's when I kind of threw my stuff out there, and it was more just kind of a Hail Mary thing of like, if this can touch one other person, I just want to share. This is what I've been able to do. I feel happy and proud because I saw that first digit change for the first time in a long time. If anybody can get anything out of this, like awesome. And that,
But we have to bring up like how Scotty came like onto the page, because this guy came out of nowhere. Like he's like got these great big old eyes. He just looks like he's been like deer in the headlights. Like no shirt,
Yeah.
any shorts, just standing there. And then the next picture, you're like, boom, down 50 pounds. It's like, whoa. But I mean, but all through, so it's just hilarious. So look him up on the page. But he just came out of nowhere. Do you remember that, Caitlin?
Oh yeah, no, it was very much. We were already deep in the challenge, and we were all like, "Who's this guy? What's going on?"
who's this bastard lurking in the shadows, man?
But no,
Yeah.
you gotta go back and look at it, because I mean that picture, that first post you did was just like, wow, look at that. I mean, same eyes, same pose, same everything. It was just that perfect though. Oh, look at that. That's awesome. So
Yeah, and the eye thing was fun too, because I think I've talked about this probably once or twice before at some point, but just to kind of put it out here too, the whole eye thing came because of my dad. Like we're partially Greek with everything, so we celebrate Greek Easter, and like everyone kind of makes the jokes about like the Greek blood and our stubbornness and what have you. And my dad has always kind of had like, they'll do the bug eyes like all the time. He would do that, and me and my brother would kind of do that just to like make fun and mock with it and stuff. And we still do it to this day. For whatever reason, taking those first pictures, I don't know what it was. I just said, just put the eyes out there. And then every progress photo, 3-week intervals, I just kept doing it. And then now it's kind of stuck. I probably need to like come up with a logo for myself with boots and like somehow incorporate the O's as eyes or something stupid like that. But that's kind of how the eyes came about with everything. So it's kind of fun. And the Boots nickname came from my mom too. So there's a lot of family, I guess, that's been tied into this in ways. But yeah, so I dropped all the weight down, got to my lowest at 169, felt absolutely amazing. But the hardest thing, and I guess the big thing here being the next 90% was having that conversation that we had with Caitlin, and it's just, or I'm sorry, with Candy, down in Atlanta. And it's just like, okay, well, we've all had these different journeys that brought us to this crossroad. And the hardest thing, anybody can lose weight. It's not that it's an easy thing, but it's like if you have a goal and you're trying to go for something, it keeps you focused. But once you get past that and that focus is no longer there, what becomes the new focus? And it's really difficult to navigate, especially when you've had a food addiction problem, and it was so hard to stay disciplined for such a long time. How do you continue doing something when you feel like that goal's been achieved? It's so easy to pull back. And that's been my problem my whole life. I've gotten low, maybe 185, sprout up to 220, back down to 190, but it's all because of the same stuff. You spend a couple months doing good. Once you get there, it's like, well, now what? You don't think about what else to do. And having that conversation was a scary one because I was so used to doing something a certain way. And I knew based on my new goals that I was setting for myself, that had to change. My nutrition had to change a little bit. I couldn't continue doing, calorie and carb depletion. I had to start having some more carbs, adding some more calories into that so I could eat something more healthy for what I was going to start doing. And then incorporating the DDPY jack straps from there and really making those my own with the workouts. And then I've come up with a bunch of my own flows that I've kind of created. So I have my own hour and 10-minute or so practice that I've basically developed for myself that pushes me in different ways than some of the workouts can. And I follow that, pretty regularly too. And it's a great hour and 10 minutes that I really love doing for myself. So that's been a huge, huge piece of this. Now I'm almost in this section of like, what's my next 90%, so to speak, because I feel like the weight came off. I feel really good about where I kind of brought my body to toning with everything. But now, the next focus I guess that I'm on is I do want to add a little bit more muscle mass and just kind of start toning up as much as I can midsection wise. It's just weird to think like this because couple years ago, these are afterthoughts. I'd be a crazy son of a bitch for even having the ideas that I'm trying to even convince myself that I'm capable of doing. But now it doesn't feel like it's a stretch. It feels like this is what I'm going to do, and this is what I'm going to do to get there. So it's a very different mindset approach, which is why I'm going to conquer this shit, and it's going to happen. So it's just a matter of doing it. That's my long-winded catch up to speed here, but.
So did you have anything that you worked on in particular like this year? Like you said, you were talking about the jack transformation. Like, what was that process like? And was that like an even more severe, like, was that a harder process than getting the weight loss? Because that came after the 2020 Positively Unstoppable win. So that was like, you continue to work out hard.
Yeah.
So what was that?
It came at a perfect time, specifically because of those conversations we had, because I kind of knew what I wanted to do and where I wanted to go after the weight loss. But I think with the straps coming in, it added such a different versatile component into the workouts to where the things that I wanted to achieve, I could continue to get doing just DDPY and just incorporating the straps into it. So that was exciting for me because I guess what I've always loved and preached about DDPY is, so I did the YRG discs for the entire weight loss, and everything that I've done since has been the jacked workouts. What I've always loved about DDPY is going back to YRG and doing like the original fat burner and energy and diamond cutter. Doing those original workouts, I was doing those same workouts for months. But the thing is like, as you continue to get stronger and more flexible and all of that, and like you're engaging more with the dynamic resistance, that same workout that you did, in April for myself was so much more impactful when you're doing it again in June because you're pushing harder. You've got more muscle to get more into that dynamic resistance. You're stretching, you're taking lunges deeper. So the same movements you're getting so much more out of. And I started noticing that with the jacked workouts, like right when I felt like I need to mix things up, jacked was there. So, I used the straps, started doing the workouts, and it kicked my ass in the beginning because I was just going hard, and I was like, dude, this is no joke. And we all experienced it together for that first time with Dallas. And I had not been sore like that since I had started. And I was like, all right, there's some serious shit going on here. And I fell in love with it. I became addicted to using the straps because there was so many unique ways I felt that you could get that dynamic resistance from. Um, and they worked great. They did such a good job. And right when I felt like I needed to mix up again, then I'd get the leg straps. So I added that in, and that was a dude. I thought the arm straps were a game changer. But as soon as I put those legs on, it killed me, dude. Like those leg straps are ridiculous. But from there, I was working with Tom and stuff, and he had started and kind of been getting the groups together for the jack transformations and stuff. So I jumped in with that. Great group of people that kind of got that whole thing started off, and then had the opportunity to go back down to Atlanta to do a little bit more interviewing, a little bit more photo stuff based around the jack transformation stuff in November, which was amazing. I've been feeling the best I'd ever felt physically, not just because of, the weight coming off, but just being able to kind of rehabilitate and recondition my body in different ways that again, a couple of years ago, even when I'd lost weight in the past, that was just never a thought to take health to that kind of a level. It was just, I'm carrying less weight. Wonderful. This was more like I'm putting my body in a position, where I do feel unstoppable, which is a very different mindset than just losing weight.
So I think what some people might be curious about is kind of so with the Jack program, which some people have maybe just started or have just started to experience a little bit more. Can you maybe talk about you said it's a new challenge, right? And so are there certain things that you recommend? So I've heard a lot of people ask, because I just have the arms, I don't have the legs. Should they should they have a full set? What things do you think is good for someone who's just starting? How do they kind of ease into it? What do you think is like, kind of an approach to someone who's curious, but a little, unsure about how to go into it?
Yeah. So that's a really good question. And honestly, the way that I think about everything health wise and specifically DDPY with the straps is the mental aspect of everything to me is always first and foremost. I feel like if the focus point is, well, what product do I need to buy and what gimmick do I have to follow to achieve results and get to where I want to, you're already putting yourself in a spot to fail because if you're not getting what you see somebody else getting, or if you're not working as hard as them, or if you're not going to do exactly what that person's doing, I feel like it becomes an immediate discourager because I've been there multiple times where I've seen other people with the results and all I'm thinking about is, well, let me do what that person's doing. I want to mimic that. I want to do exactly what they're doing. And that's not the answer. The answer isn't about the physical action. It's really all about what you change in here. I mean, if you approach it with a lifestyle change mentality, you're going to get where you want to go. So the way I would say with the straps, 100%, if you're brand new to DDPY, what I would say is don't even focus on the straps up front. Get on the app, work hard, get used to what the program is. When you're feeling comfortable and good with everything and you want to take it to that level, then take it to that level. Because if you go into DDPY right off the bat saying, well, let me do my DDPY, but I need the straps because if I don't have the straps, I won't get the results. It's like, no, that's absolute bullshit. You're going to get the results if you put in the work. Don't rely on the straps to be the result getter for you. That's just amping it up. If you want to do it from the get go for it. But I would say get used to the program a bit, work hard. When you feel like you need to spice it up or you're ready to take it to that level, do it. And don't worry about doing the arms and the legs at the same time. I did the arms for 5-6 months before I incorporated the legs. So there's no right or wrong way to do it. You just need to do it when you feel mentally ready. Don't chase results, chase the work, and then let the work provide the results.
And to your point too, you don't want to compare yourself with others. So, I've got the arms. I would love to get the legs at some point, but as long as you're still putting in the work, as you said, just lunge a little bit deeper or move a little bit differently. But is that something that you've had issue with in the past?
As far as like the lunging and stuff, you're saying?
Yeah, like will it make a big difference when you're doing lunges with the straps? Are you noticing like your stance is a lot different, or is it same as it was before, just a little bit more intense?
Yeah, it's I mean, as far as the flexibility aspects, I mean, that's kind of like an ever growing thing, I guess. But as far as, the intensity to it, it's definitely there because the difference, at least the really big difference from the legs versus the arms is on the arms, it's such a smaller space that's being cuffed and that you're kind of jacking up on there. So it doesn't take a lot to get what you need. On the legs, you can really crank those things and I mean provide a lot because the muscle in your leg is just, it's going to take a lot more and there's a lot more compression that you can tighten up there. So when you really jack your legs up, you feel it. I mean, you definitely feel it, especially when you're doing like a warrior three pose, and you're holding that for an extended period, or if you're doing a roundhouse and holding that up for an extended period, you feel it when you're spending a lot of time on one leg. And then when you go into a lunge off of all of that, that's when you're shaking. It's just like, oh shit, like, so you kind of like, you're holding the fort together. But it definitely is more intense on the legs than it was for the arms, without a doubt.
Whole new level. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
I also want to add too that there are a few of us out there that are not medically cleared for the straps that are still getting great results as well. So
Absolutely.
I'm not medically cleared. I have 3 of the 8 contraindications, so I don't currently use the jack straps. So just want to let people know that is not a prerequisite. It will, from what I understand, and I've seen the results, it will take your workout to another level, but you can get those same results. You just have to work just a little bit harder. So,
100%. And I co-sign that to an absolute T. If I did not have the straps and I was not using them, I would not stop, doing my DDPY. I would still be pushing hard and kicking ass with just DDPY. Just the fact that they're there and it's available, I love it. But
Yeah.
it is definitely not needed. Don't want that to come across at all for
Oh
sure.
no, yeah, absolutely.
We also hear people talking about like for the contest, particularly people worry about what they should or should not have or should not be doing. But to remind, like none of like myself and Dobbins and Scott, none of us had any of that gear, before doing this program, like before we won, right? Like Scotty said he did the Wired G, and I did the DVDs too. I did the old school DVDs for the longest time. I did switch to the app eventually, but it was a lot of figuring out myself on the mat by myself with just the DVDs over and over and over, that repetition of like you do the whole audio track by heart, and it's just that whole thing where you can just say them all, right? And so I don't want anyone to ever feel like you have to spend on all of these things, because really what it is that you need to focus on you and your workouts, what makes you push it to, your limit. A lot of that is, like we said, it's just body work. You don't, you can choose absolutely to go get the straps or do dumbbells or whatever makes you happy, but you can just do this with your body on a mat, doing these workouts over and over. It is a mental grind to do that. Things like to do that like Scotty did, and to do that like I did, and to do like to do those workouts over and over every day. It does get old, We encourage you also to like try to change it up. That's why I added in other things over time. I added in dance classes and running, and I'm now weightlifting, but like all of those things came with time. You don't have to pile it all on your plate once. You're gonna get overwhelmed too, and finding those things like to balance it out so that you're not, overwhelming, because none of that's required. So particularly people who are thinking about the challenge and thinking about how to be part of that, it can just be you on a mat doing the work.
Yep.
Also, you can start mixing in other moves while he's talking, or for me, just getting out of that chair and actually getting back to the beginner. Like went from staying strong and kind of kicked it up to getting back into energy. It's been a while since September since I've been able to do anything outside of a chair. So I'm relearning that flexibility. It's tightened up a little bit, but I also started doing like a little bit of the red hot core and core cracker stuff in between when he's talking, just to try to jack up my heart rate and kind of get the flexibility start moving back to where I was. So don't think you have to stand there and listen to him talk or explain things. If you've went through that, start mixing and matching and kind of do your own routine like Scotty was saying, and just kind of let it flow that way. You don't necessarily have to follow 100% and only do that. You can start mixing in a little bit.
Yeah, it's very true, and it's a great point too, Matt, because there's levels to it, which is kind of neat. So like when I was doing just the YRG discs and stuff, and doing a lot of the same workouts over and over, what I started doing, still on the discs with everything, is when you're in energy, and there's like a handful of the 3-second push-ups in there. Well, what I started doing is once I would do the 3-second push-up, I would pause the disc and I would just rep out as many push-ups as I could hit until failure, press play, and keep going. So I started adding stuff like that as I felt myself getting stronger, because it was kind of nice when you press pause and it's like, all right, at first I'm doing 10 more push-ups, but then, a couple weeks later, I'm hitting 30 push-ups after each pause, so that's other really nice, confidence boosters and ways to kind of measure where your strength is and kind of how far you're pushing yourself. And the other thing I started doing too, this is why I kind of created my own jacked workout with everything, is just trying to find different ways to do movements and compound movements. So what I've always really loved in the jacked workouts is when you kind of go into a squat, and you'd squat from up here and kind of pull down the bar as you're doing the squat. So I started incorporating some different things. So what I do now in my thing is I'll go up into the squat position, but I'll go into goddess pose. So I'll lift my heels off and go all the way up as high as I can on my toes. And I'll go 3 down and I'll hold that for a second. And then instead of releasing it, I'll go out and then I'll come up 3, but 3 going out like the bench. So I'll make it like a 6, like a 6 count movement, staying in that goddess pose. And that's where those leg straps like crush me, because when you come off the heels like that and then you're feeling it everywhere. But that stuff, just little things that I start adding, because it's like at first when I started doing that, I felt it, but as time had gone on, I felt stronger and stronger, and I'm sinking lower and lower, and little things like that go a long way. Like even doing the calf raisers, I started doing calf raisers now as opposed to doing 2 feet and just going up to my toes, I started doing calf raisers in tree pose. So I'm doing like a 1 foot calf raiser in tree pose. And then at first, I mean, I'm wobbling and I'm falling and stuff, but I can hit 10 of those now almost perfectly sturdy. But that's after, months of pushing myself, because it's little things like that that make DDPY so much fun, because you see that progress day in and day out as you go. And it's just, that's what makes you motivated. That's what keeps you dedicated, disciplined, inspired, because when you see those results happening to yourself, it's exciting to hit the mat the next day, because you want to see where you can keep taking it and going. I mean, it's really exciting.
Yeah, I can really relate to that, especially with the alligator planks and all the Hayden workouts. After doing the 17-minute and 5-second plank, that 1 minute, just I don't even shake. I'm like, okay, So having that ability to pause the workout and hold it a lot longer, pushing yourself for all of those extras. I can do push-ups better now than I used to be able to do, just by stopping and adding some extras. So to your point, that's a fantastic idea, is just to mix it up a little bit and make it your own, right?
100%.
I love the creativity with Scotty's pose. I gotta see pictures of the tree pose, because he unintentionally makes challenges out of these, because I see it and I'm very like, well, I could do that. So then I'm over on the mat falling over. There's a lot of outtakes, y'all. Like the actual picture I end up posting for this challenge ends up being like, it's several days. But then like Justin's like, oh man, now it's a thing and I gotta do the thing. It's always every time.
Every
So
I get such a
love
kick
that.
out of that. Yeah, I get such a kick out of that, because it's like I just kind of throw it up for fun and just like, hey, here it is. And then like Caitlin, you're always the first one to do it, and then all of a sudden everybody's just like, boom, and I'm like, oh shit, like kind of started a little something here. So it's kind of fun seeing that take off.
I like it because you're pushing me, because I've never done that before. So I'm over on the mat. Then I'm trying to figure it out, because I'm stubborn on my own, trying to figure it out. Of course, doing it in the wrong order, because like I did it for dance. So I'm lowering. I'm starting on point in goddess pose, lowering myself, making it much harder than it needed to be. But it's things like that. But it's really fun. So I think that's like the creativity of like making it your own. I think you do a fantastic job at that. Of like, you don't always have to stick to a script. If you feel like you can go further some way, that you see that thing. And I encourage other people too. Like if you have stuff like that, like share it on, the different pages. People love seeing that stuff. I'm one of them. Like I love those, because I'll always go try them and be nuts and like tumble all over the mat just to try to figure it out. So like I said, I'm, if you want to send the tree pose one, I'm now immediately going, I don't know if I could do that.
Yeah, no, it's fun. I love the push with it. It's something, I mean, I'm really shooting for it this year. I'd love to be able to, but when we were down there in November working out with Dallas and Paige went into a splits and then folded forward into the splits. And I was like, oh, damn, I want to do that so bad. So I've been working on getting that.
Splits. I literally call them my page splits, because
Yeah.
every time I do one of her workouts, I'm like, I can do a split, but she can do a split. Yep,
Yeah.
I'm
It's
right
like-
there with you.
Like, ta-da, it's like, wow, that's cool. Oh, shit, she's going down. Like, it's like, all right, well, we're going to get there.
14 years or something she's been doing it, I'm understanding.
Crazy.
Yeah, I have
Long
to keep
time.
reminding myself that part, because every time I'm down there, I'm like, I'm not on the mat. Where is she? She's not over there. Where's happening? It's phenomenal, though. Oh my god,
Yeah.
such inspiration.
Yeah.
She is totally the female version of Gumby. I tried a couple of her workouts and I'm just like, I am not there yet. So that's definitely something
I don't know if anyone's there. Like, we're all heading there, but I don't know if anyone actually arrived at the station besides Paige. Like,
Yeah.
phenomenally. Oof. It's amazing. So with your flexibility and stuff, because I know it's something you've really been increasing, is there any particular like goals you have, or anything that you do to particularly like work on flexibility?
Yes. So some stuff that I started doing, and this is stuff that I had picked up from doing just traditional yoga years ago. When me and Kristen, the missus, had kind of like reconnected, 10.5 years ago now. It's crazy. So it's been a very fun relationship for me, because growing up watching Dallas and stuff, and then when we had reconnected, she was a yoga instructor, so she's the one who introduced me to yoga. I didn't even know Dallas was doing DDP yoga until about a year or so into our relationship. So I had fallen in love with yoga from then. So some of the stuff that she would kind of show me, I started incorporating some of that kind of stuff, and a lot of that is like the forward fold, like going into. I'm trying to think like, just kind of standing forward and just spreading your legs this way for a split, but then folding down and trying to get your elbows to the ground, as opposed to doing that from the squat position. Working a lot on that kind of stuff. And I would do my own dynamic resistance while holding my legs out like that, like maybe just doing a curl for, 3 count. Um, Anything like that, I would try to do and just hold and just slowly inch down. And if I was really feeling it at the end of the workout, when, feeling really loose, muscles are very warm and everything's just kind of ready to go, that's when I would start sinking deep into a splits. And I would just go I would push myself as hard as I could possibly go without, wanting to like hurt myself. But, when you feel good like that and you can really dig in, I would take full advantage of that, or do take full advantage of that through the workouts and stuff. That's probably the biggest thing I've been doing is just getting that extra 5 minutes, at the end of a workout to really do some extra stretching and let that stuff dig in and sink low, and just, take advantage because we all know, the way you can feel one day versus the next day. You can still have a great workout, but sometimes the flexibility might be like 5% less the next day. So when I feel really good, I'm letting it sink.
That's awesome.
So this past year, so I'm going to go into my question. So let me hit you with it. So after 2020, getting your weight loss and stuff, and then carrying it over into 2021, how much, let's just say, mental change, and I'll even go as far as to say struggle, did you have, like, going throughout the year, and how did you kind of work through that a bit? You know what I mean? Like, because I know personally I had quite a bit at the beginning of 2021. Quite a bit of struggle with the, new me, what's next type thing.
Yeah, totally. It's a good question too, because I think my I don't even want to say a struggle, but I guess my challenge and adaptability to that was so different because coming out of Atlanta when we were down there, my routine stayed the same. It was just the difference of adding the app because that's when I had first hopped on the app coming back home. So getting used to that was this nice fresh feel again. We're all riding that high of what the experience was and stuff. So I think going into a new routine with the straps and the jacked workouts coming out of that really just launched me. Um, and it just I rode that high and it just kept going because so much new stuff was happening at the same time. Where my biggest thing came in was, at that time we were still mandatory work from home. So what my routine and schedule was used to is if I'm doing one workout a day, I was doing it on my lunch breaks for work. It was so easy to just log off for a break from my bedroom, walk into the living room, roll out my mat, super convenient, work out 45 minutes, take a quick shower, back to work. And if I was doubling down, I would just do it after work real quick. Cause to me, I'm like, well, not doing shit with this hour anyways. That's how I'm going to make my time and make the most of it. And then when I do it after work for an extra 30 minutes here and there, that would be what my commute would be anyways. So, I was trying to manipulate my time. And what made it a struggle for sure for a bit, and I guess what changed my mindset even more so, knowing that I was finding ways to fix things rather than making excuses for things, is once we started going back to work, I started going into the office. So now I couldn't do that same routine because I'm not going to stay late at work and work out. So now I'm like, all right, I got to wake up earlier so I can go to work out before work, shower there, get myself ready, go back down and do it again on my lunch break, come back up and go home. So now it's not just about the comfort of my home, but now I've got to bring everything like, a towel and shampoo and body wash and my workout clothes and my mat and my earbuds and a phone stand. And, it's just then it turned into this whole like escapade of just like pick up and go and pick up and go back and forth. But I made it work and I did it. And then from there, we had my son. So I was home on paternity leave and then we'd moved into a house 2 weeks before that. So it was just like all this shit's going on. I got people coming over to help me move. So now I'm waking up at like 4 o'clock in the morning so I can work out. So I don't make an excuse after moving all day that I'm too tired, so all these things that were happening were second nature to me. And that's when I knew it's just there was nothing that was going to stop anything from happening because there wasn't trying to make it work. It's just, well, this is just what needs to be done because this shit's getting done. The biggest hurdle I had with all of this though, and thank God that it didn't impact me because this was definitely the hardest I think I had to work mentally, is after going back to work from paternity leave, went back to my same routine with everything working out, but then they were not allowing me to go to our gym anymore. So they were like, well, you can't come to the gym. It's like, well, that's wonderful. So now I got to figure out how I'm going to go to work and give up that hour that I'm used to having to put in for myself, but still work out. And I can't do it when I get home because I got 2 kids at home. So it's just like, how do I do this? I had to change everything. So I had then had to migrate it over to waking up at 5 o'clock every morning, which isn't the craziest, but compared to what my schedule, what I was used to doing and being here for the kids and making everything work. I was used to a very different schedule for such a long time. So I made it work though. Woke up at 5 o'clock, just started doing it, and that was it. 5:30 till about 6:45 was my workout. Take a real quick shower, drive to work, and that was it. I just started crunching everything into the mornings, and that's what it's going to continue to be for quite a while here because I don't think they're going to let me use the gym for a while. So that's pretty much where we're at.
Yeah, my routine's always been at 4 a.m. because I got to get my son ready for school he's got to be at school by 7. So that, I get up at 4, I get, my regiment going and getting my routine in place, getting everything rolled out and set up. So that gave me, the hour to do that before he even got up, before my wife gets up. So it's literally gives me the hour and a half that I can take a shower, get ready. I fast, so I don't have to worry about breakfast. But when I first started, I was eating breakfast, so that gave me the extra time for that. So definitely, and for me, I knew if I started uh, not doing it in the morning, that gave me the whole day to talk myself out of it. And that was my biggest thing. Being as heavy as I was, I knew if I waited, I would talk myself out of it. Just like, with the food. If I ate something bad, I would keep eating that bad thing all the way through the day, and I'll just start again the next day. So getting that routine set, like, and figuring out what routine you need to do to be successful is very important.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a big deal. And the mental side of that too. I mean, waking up for in your case at 4 o'clock every morning, it's so good mentally to have some kind of a schedule with that because I mean, at first, yeah, maybe it kind of sucks and you're pushing yourself for that first week or two and you really got to go, but your body will adapt to that pretty quick. As long as you push your body into it, like next thing you know, you're kind of waking up on your own. The alarm goes and you're just like, boom, I'm up. It's not like the alarm like, oh, okay, let's go. You start feeling that's, the little hop to the step in the morning with everything, which is super super important because I come across with this persona just like get shit done, let's fucking go, and that's where my mind is 100%. But I mean, to be very true, honest, and vulnerable about that stuff, I mean, it's not always that easy. I mean, you push yourself and you tell yourself that story because it keeps you going, but like deep down there's always going to be stuff circling around in there and you got to push through that stuff. I mean, ultimately you're fighting yourself every day. But if you keep telling yourself, let's go, we got shit to do, let's go, it becomes so much easier when those thoughts come in to just let them pass without letting them linger, which is what gets so many of us in so much trouble. Like everybody, and I say this to everybody that I talk to, if I feel like I go into like counselor Scotty mode trying to help people, they got to talk. It's just, don't feel special because you've got fucked up thoughts or you're thinking really shitty about yourself or your day. Every single person in the world deals with the same kind of shit. The difference isn't the thoughts that come in. The difference is how we deal with those thoughts. Some people can let them pass through. Some people will take the first negative thing and let it sit for the entire day. And that's the difference. Nobody thinks any different than anyone else. If everybody was very honest and vulnerable about the thoughts that came into our mind, we'd all be in prison because we all think about crazy shit, like you can't help the crazy stuff that crosses your mind, but what you can help and work on. I mean, dude, Justin, you know better than anybody, dude. Like you put so much work when it comes to the mental side of things and working through that stuff, man. So I can't even speak, wholeheartedly. All I know is just for myself and what I've done. I mean, it's just we all have like our own journey with everything, dude. But I mean, you are like the epitome of taking something from like here and just saying, fuck this shit, dude. Like, I'm gonna flip everything around. I'm gonna make this work and make it my bitch because you have for such a long time. And I mean, you're such an inspiration to so many people on the weight loss side of things. But I'm telling you, man, when it comes down to the mental stuff and how vulnerable you are posting and being open and honest about that, it's amazing because every single person can relate to that kind of shit. And regardless of how we deal with it, it's a door opening thing and an eye opening thing when people see that and go, you know what, I deal with that shit too. Maybe I can bury it easier. Maybe it doesn't impact me the same way, but we all have that same shit. And I think that's awesome.
Thank you. It's definitely work every day. It's just as I'm going to say it's even harder than working out, because now the working out is like, I'm like on auto mode. Like my body knows what to do. I know the calls. I go through the workout. When I'm done, I'm like, well, that feels all right. I'm feeling good. But it's that constant churning upstairs that just makes you, it's just a constant work. It's like a constant process, I think of like a power plant. All the little workers are doing their job just to try to keep things on the rails. So it's
Yeah.
I prefer the working out, getting in shape more than I do the mental part. But it's definitely worth it, and it's definitely how you got to kind of tie everything up to make it last.
Yeah. It's important, man. The mental side's huge. I mean, just from when we had first met, going just over a year ago to now, it's unbelievable, man. I mean, we all became family ASAP down there. So, to kind of see that progression too. I mean, meeting you so late in life, you know what I mean? And to be able to see that, not just like I've known you from childhood, and it's just like, oh, I've seen Justin go through all this, but like just within a year of getting to know you and stuff, man, it's remarkable.
Thank you.
So it's
Appreciate
very
that.
personal, right? Like it's everybody. We're sharing the most personal sides of ourselves, so you tend to bond with people a lot stronger. I think when you see that vulnerability.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think when I first met Scotty down there last year, like anytime there'd be a big group setting, like I would disappear. I'd be like outside pacing around like a wild creature, just like I can't do crowds. I don't want to be in here, and it was just like a constant, just nonstop. I had to be out of the area, but no, thank you. It's like I said, it's been a lot of work, but it's definitely worth it.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome, man. It's kind of crazy to have been down there and yourself, Caitlin, Candy, to meet three people, strangers, right? I mean, people you talk to online a little bit, but like when you finally get to come together, dude, and like you immediately fall in love with people that for the first time, you're having like this personal interaction, this physical meeting. And I mean, here we are over a year later, and you guys are family to me, man. Like I talk about you all more than my own family in my house most of the time. So, oh, it's awesome. I can never preach enough about how much I appreciate, the relationships that we were all able to build and continue to kind of grow here. So, I mean, I love you guys like from the bottom of my heart. I really do.
Is that Caitlin?
Making me feel feelings. Oh,
Let them out. Let them
ruining
out.
the brand. Oh,
I have a reputation to uphold. We got to stop this right now.
The goal is to get a tear out of the savage.
Enough of this gooey show of emotions. Sorry.
Yeah, let's be
Ripping that
badasses.
off
Let's go
on-
chew on some steel. Oh, I love it.
I mean, if you want,
Can you FedEx it for me? Bring me on next week. I'll chew that shit up.
there you go. We're gonna start a carnival show next.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Well, and speaking of metal, I know you do, well, not necessarily metal, but you do a lot of work in a band, and
Yeah,
I'm just wondering how that
absolutely.
really has affected you overall with the weight loss and is it affecting your stage presence? Are you having an easier time bouncing around on stage? Are you noticing big changes that way?
Yeah, that's a great question too. Yeah, lot more energy. It's kind of funny too because I always kind of like choke myself up to being like Chris Farley heavy. Like when I was at my biggest with everything, normal tasks and things like that, like would kind of wear me out, and my back and my knees just sucked. But like when it came down to putting on a show, for whatever reason, all of that was out the window, and like I could perform, and I'll fucking throw down, no problem. Like I might be feeling that shit the rest of the night and the next day, but like I'd throw down hard. So it's been it's been super nice because to put on such an energetic show like that and not hurt, not have my back so stiff the next day, not have my knees wanting to buckle out from under me nonstop. That's really been like the greatest benefit, taking that weight and pressure off the other parts of my body and being able to, kick and jump and not worry about hurting myself because I don't stop. Like when I go hard, I'm going hard. That's been awesome. The biggest thing that was kind of weird too is, going from the beginning of 2020 when everything had started, we didn't play a show until I had lost all the weight. And I didn't think about this one bit when we were getting ready to go do the show. Someone was like, "Hey, so like, is this weight loss impacted you vocally at all?" Because I'm the only singer. I do all the vocals for the band. So I mean, we're doing 3-4 hour sets sometimes, and it's a lot of vocals. And I'm like, "Shit, dude! Like, that's a great question. I haven't even been singing this whole time, like dicking off at the house playing an acoustic guitar, but not like letting it go." And I was like, I don't know. I'm kind of nervous about that now. So, thankfully vocals were fine. Like lung capacity was good. Everything felt really nice. And I probably feel the strongest vocally I've ever felt in my life, even on top of all that too. So that was a very nice relief in the long run. But yeah, playing music's the best. I mean, like I said, right before we hopped on here, but outside of playing music, getting a killer workout in. I mean, those are really the two greatest self-fulfilling things, that I can do for myself that just make me feel good and energized for the day.
The band's name is 6 Speed Tranny. Check them out on Spotify.
Oh yeah, thanks for the plug. Shameless plug. 6 Speed Tranny. Check us out. We just
There you
dropped an
go.
album October. The Wolf. That's our new single. Thank you very much.
Very good. Make sure that Matt gets all your contact info, and we'll put that
your
up at the
links
end of
and
the
stuff.
podcast. Yeah, your links.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be cool. We're proud of it. It turned out good. So, and I guess I'll drop this little nugget in here too. I've only shared this with probably Justin at this point, but I'm starting to work on kind of like some solo stuff as far as like acoustic music. And then also working on a couple of things, just like empowering, uplifting kind of stuff that I want to be able to share within the community. So that is in process. I don't know exactly when that's all going to come together, but I've got probably about 10 songs that are in the inner workings. So that is something just for me personally I'm working on, which I just owe to these lifestyle changes because it's brought back my confidence in wanting to continue my music career solo as well. So that's coming.
He asked me to rap on the album, but I said, no, I'm not any good at that, so I'm going to have to pass.
Yeah.
C-O-double-B over there.
Yeah, no, it's not happening.
I should have
That's
brought the
awesome.
guitar down here. I could have jammed out. I don't have my acoustic with me, though. I could have thrown down.
Amazing.
Y'all have any other questions?
No, I'm good.
I think we've asked. Scotty, thank you for being like totally open and honest with us and really giving us some good insights on that next 90%. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. It's nice to talk openly. This is stuff I never would have felt confident talking openly about before, finding health. So it's nice to share this with like-minded people. And I mean, we're all in this together. I mean, I say that all the time, regardless of where we are in our journeys, just starting 15 years in, it doesn't really matter. I mean, if you have a passion for health, whether you've got it on points, you're struggling, we're all in this, as a family kind of doing the same stuff, and we all understand where we want to go. So I think it's a really cool thing. So I appreciate you guys having me on. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for coming.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining us on this episode of The Next 90% with Scotty Bootz. And in closing, we're going to give him the Scotty Bootz Eyes homage. 1, 2, 3. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
False prophets come in sheep's clothes. Inside they're ferocious as wolves. Mention God's name to be humble.